Greetings, ASA members. Let's talk briefly as we approach the holidays about principals, school safety, sex education, and our future opportunities. How are principals doing these days? Well, the National Association of Secondary School Principals extensively surveyed a national sample, and principals report that they're not doing so great. First of all, they said their three biggest challenges during the pandemic include, number one, implementing blended and distance learning, that was 60%, providing mental health support to students, 59%, and providing guidance and mental health support to teachers and staff, 58%. How I think Arizona would differ, and it surprises me here, I think in Arizona, the number one challenge principals face, what I hear about every day, is staff shortages. That's clearly number one in Arizona beyond anything else. Now, that NASSP survey did find that 68% of those principals report being concerned about the teacher shortage in the 21-22 school year. In Arizona, that figure would be 95%. More than 1/3 of the principals surveyed report being threatened in response to the steps they had taken to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in their schools. The upshot of all of this, of course, is that job satisfaction among principals is at an all-time low, with almost 4 out of 10 expecting to leave the profession in the next 3 years. Only about 1/3 of principals, 35%, strongly agree with being generally satisfied. 2 years ago, in 2019, that number was not 1/3, it was 63%. So it's dropped almost in half. And this survey was done before the recent rash of school violence, exemplified by the school shooting in Michigan. And this has increased pressure on administrators on their handling of threats, as reports had been made about the Michigan shooter, and he had been in the office of the school that very morning over safety concerns. His backpack was not searched, and obviously the assessment of his potential as a threat was not accurately made. So a key issue among principals is how to do threat assessments. First, I hope you all have a clear policy and procedure on assessing threats, and that, number one, it is done as a team. Now, I've included a link in this message to a publication recently updated by the National Association of School Psychologists with an update on their recommendations. Now, of course, your threat assessment team includes a school psychologist and a counselor if you have one. The question, is it time for you to revisit your threat assessment policy, your procedures, before you become the next headline and the next subject of a parent lawsuit as a result of a tragedy? Now, even if you're a very small school district in a very small school, then you can band together with some other small districts or schools and conduct some of these threat assessments together. The key thing is you have planned it in advance. To help with any planning on threat assessments or any revisiting of your policies, I've included 2 links in this article. One is to the NASP, the Association of Psychologists, to their recommendations, and the other one is to an article about how now parents in Oakland, Michigan are in fact suing the school district. Now, such suits are difficult to win because there's a fairly high threshold for proving school liability. But again, you don't want to be the person who's next dealing with this. And along with this, remember that the ASA, ABEC, Grand Canyon University Summit on School Safety occurs February 6th through 8th, that's this next year, 2022, at Grand Canyon. And that subject, threat assessments, and many others will be the subject of sessions and breakouts. Okay, now let's move on to the subject of sex education. HB 2035, one of the many bills that came out of the notorious 2021 legislative session, was signed in July, and it made changes to sex education instruction, including, of course, the prohibition of any of that being done prior to grade 5. The legislation also requires each school district and charter school that offers such instruction to review and, if needed, revise its course of study by December 15th. Well, guess what? We're coming right up on that time. So you must submit a certificate saying you've done so to the State Board of Education by December 15th. One certificate will suffice for all the schools in the district. I've included a link to this certificate that you must submit, and it's in this message. Now, if you're not providing any sex education instruction, you don't need to worry about this. If you are, you must submit this certificate to the State Board. Finally, what do we expect under the Christmas tree this year from our upcoming state legislature? Well, that's going to be discussed at the ASA meeting at the Winter Conference this Thursday at 3:30 p.m. It will also be discussed at our quarterly meeting. That's Friday, January 14th in the new year. That meeting is in person at the Deer Valley Unified School District. It's also broadcast, of course, online at YouTube, and I've included that YouTube link in the message. Now, there's other opportunities coming up in the next few months that haven't already been mentioned. Despite the feeling of principals who hold the job that they might want to leave, and if they do leave, that of course will create opportunities for new principals. If you want one of those, we have our Aspiring Principals Workshop, Saturday, January 8th, 2022. Registration information in this message. If you don't want to be a principal, but you want to provide opportunities for students to get good jobs in the software industry, we have a webinar on Arizona Codes, a statewide initiative focused on providing opportunities for students to earn certifications and start jobs right out of high school. That's January 19th. Information in this message. The National Conference on Education, Superintendents, if you haven't registered for that, it's in Nashville this year, February 17th through 19th. Our fourth quarterly meeting of the year, February 28th. Women Leaders, there's the third annual Carolyn Warner Women in Leadership Conference. That's March 31st. Our Higher Ed Division has a drive-in conference April 29th. Then let's jump ahead to June. I know some of you want to jump ahead to June right now and conclude this pandemic-influenced year, this year of polarization, this year of every crazy in the woodwork is coming right out to talk specifically to you. June 5th through 7th, Dave Burgess, Teach Like a Pirate. He'll be at that Institute for Excellence in Flagstaff. And finally, yes, we're 6 months away, but it'll get here. Our summer conference in Tucson, June 14th through 16th, featuring Dr. Faye Brown of Harvard and other great speakers. And that will conclude our year. But it's not concluded yet, but 2021 is just about finished, and it's bringing a holiday that every one of us needs.